So I think this is going to be the easiest part of the session now that you are all equipped with the knowledge to diagnose growth hormone deficiency, and all the investigations you already familiar with, all the investigations now. And now let us see, after making a diagnosis of growth hormone deficiency, how do you go about? So growth hormone deficiency is not the only approved indication for starting growth hormone. There are so many other approved indications for growth hormone therapy. But in under this program, I think we'll be covering only growth hormone deficiency. And the doses for each of these conditions also differs. The dose in growth hormone deficiency is 0.2 to 0.3 milligram per kilogram per week. Though the dosage is given in milligram per kilogram per week, the treatment is actually a daily dosage. I'll tell you the daily dosage, how much you have to give. The growth hormone preparation, there are different companies supplying growth hormone, and different two types of, predominantly two preparations. One is in vial form and other one is a pen formulation. About pen formulation is the one that we are usually using, and it is easy to use. It is similar to using an insulin injection, where you have to just dial the dose and then give the injection as a subcutaneous injection. But comparing these two preparations, the vial formulation comes a little cheaper. But I think generally patients prefer to use the pen formulation because it is easy. It is easy to teach the parents, and also children. Many children also, they are actively involved in all these drug administration and all that, and they very confidently poke themselves with the injection. So I think, I don't know the preparation which they're planning to give under this program, but maybe I think the pen formulation will be better, so that it will be easy for us to teach the parents, and also easy for them to use. So how do you give this drug? So frequency, it is daily injection. And the route is subcutaneous. So you prefer the thighs, similar to an insulin injection. So you can give the injection on the thighs at around 8 p.m. in the evening. That is the time we prefer for giving a growth hormone injection. Now, why is 8 p.m.? It is said that it mimics a circadian rhythm, and studies have proven that giving the injection in the evening gives a better growth response. So the time, please note the time. It's a daily injection, subcutaneous route, around 8 p.m. in the evening. And I told you the usual doses that is prescribed is milligram per kilogram per week, but we are giving a daily injection. So you have to give 0.02 to 0.04 milligram per kilogram per day. So depending on the weight of the child, you can calculate the dose, and how much you have to give, it will be marked on the pen. So if you are planning to give growth hormone to a child weighing 10 kg, so you have decided to start at a lower dose, that is 0.02 milligram per kilogram. So you calculate the dose, 10 kg, it comes to 0.2. So you can dial the 0.2 mark, up to the 0.2 mark on the pen, and just press the knob so that the 0.2, the dose goes inside the child's body. So everything is marked on the pen. So how much you're planning to give, you can just dial that much. It is similar to what you're doing in case of diabetes. So insulin injections, it is similar to that. It's not at all difficult to teach the parents. Now, whenever we are giving an injection or any drug, patients is regarding the side effects of these drugs. Especially the hormone, even thyroid parents are the hormone. Invariably they'll ask. So you should be aware of the side effects of growth hormone. So let me tell you that growth hormone is a drug with an excellent safety record. I've been using growth hormone for so many years now, maybe 10 years. The side effects are very, very less. We encounter in the side effects very, very less. But so many side effects have been described for growth hormone in the textbooks. One is fluid retention. That is an early side effect. It occurs within the first few months of therapy. And the most problematic effect of this side effect is benign intracranial hypertension. Benign intracranial hypertension, how do you suspect? If you have started growth hormone for a child and the child is coming back to you within the first 1 or 2 months, or even within first 2 weeks, with history of nausea, vomiting, headache, visual disturbances, ataxia, etc., keep in mind possibility of this condition called benign intracranial hypertension. There's nothing to worry. If the child is complaining of any of these side effects, what you have to do? Immediately withdraw treatment, and then it's not that you have to completely stop giving growth hormone. You withdraw that treatment, and once all these things, it is a benign condition and there's nothing to worry. You can just wait for 2 weeks or so till the whole symptoms subside, and then you can reintroduce growth hormone at a lower dose a little bit later. And you can always you keep monitoring for the appearance of these symptoms once again, and also you can reassure the parents. So that is one side effect which I have noticed very occasionally. It's not very common. And another thing you have to be aware of is glucose intolerance, and very rarely diabetes mellitus, which is said to be one of the side effects of growth hormone. But this is also very, very rare and usually seen in children with some predisposing risk factors. And the important and reassuring thing about this is that it improves on cessation of therapy. So there is no need to worry. It's not going to be a permanent thing. Now, this is another side effect which has been reported. This is slipped capital femoral epiphysis. Now, if a child on growth hormone complains of limb or a hip or knee pain, you just think about the possibility of a slipped capital femoral epiphysis, and you can take an X-ray to confirm whether the child actually has slipped capital femoral epiphysis or not. You can see that the epiphysis here is the normal position of the epiphysis, and you can see that this is slipped here. So what do? There's nothing for you to do. You can send an orthopedic referral, because if it is a slipped capital femoral epiphysis, then definitely it requires an orthopedic management. And worsening of a pre-existing kyphosis or scoliosis has been reported. Very, very rarely pancreatitis and features of acromegaly. These are very, very theoretical possibilities. I have never seen any of these conditions, but slipped capital epiphysis occasionally, once in a while we see, though it's not very common. None of these complications of growth hormone are very common, because over the years I have come to know that these are all mentioned in the textbooks. These are very, very rare occurrence. Now, another big worry when you're giving growth hormone is the connection with malignancies. Now, a lot of discussion has gone into this, whether growth hormone causes or increases the risk of malignancies or not. But the final consensus now is that there is no evidence of increased risk of malignancy. But sometimes we start growth hormone treatment for children who, after treatment for malignancies, that is one of the indications where you give growth hormone, especially after pituitary tumors and all. After treatment, you might be planning to start growth hormone. So here, a bit of caution should be exercised. A window period of 2 years is recommended after treatment of malignancies before starting growth hormone. And always better to exercise caution and continue long-term surveillance. But if patients ask you, you can always tell that growth hormone as such will not lead to any malignancies. But little bit of caution should be exercised, especially when you're starting treatment for a child who has already had a malignancy and in such situations. Now, okay, these are the side effects of growth hormone. Now, once you have started growth hormone therapy for a child, how do you monitor this child in the long term? So the most important parameters that we are planning to measure is obviously height and weight. So how frequently do you measure? I usually, after starting a growth hormone for a child, I usually call them back after 2 weeks just to make sure that they are taking the injections properly and the dose, everything is correct and all that. And also to ensure that they don't have any of these side effects related to benign intracranial hypertension like headache, vomiting, dizziness, etc. Of course, you won't get any increase in height in 2 weeks. So at 2 weeks, you're just calling them back just to ensure that everything is okay and everything is set. So height increment is actually it is a slow process, increase in height. So you have to wait for at least 1 or 2 months before you can see any visible change in the height. So ideally, height and weight should be measured once every 3 to 6 months. So once you have started growth hormone, maybe you can call them child back every 3 months so that you will see the increment in height. So what is your aim? The aim should be to maintain growth velocity above the 50th percentile for a child's born age. It is not for the child's chronological age, because you know that in growth hormone deficiency, the born age will be delayed. It will not be proportionate to the chronological age. So you have to maintain the growth velocity about 50th percentile for the child's born age. Now, how much increment do you expect once you have started growth hormone? So in a child with growth hormone deficiency, you are expecting a very low growth velocity before the start of treatment. So it comes to the tune of around 3 to 4 centimeters before starting growth hormone. And if it is a case of severe growth hormone deficiency and the child is it is a good responder to growth hormone, you can expect an increment of about 10 to 12 centimeters per year during the first 2 years of therapy. So mind you, the maximum increment in height will be during the first 2 years of therapy. After that, the increase in height, rather the growth velocity growth rather slows down. So first 2 years, you can expect 10 to 12 centimeters per year. It can even go up to 15 centimeters. And after that, after the first 2 years, the growth velocity slows down a little and it is maintained at around 7 to 8 centimeters per year. Gradually, the growth velocity comes down. Initially, a dose start if you're getting a growth velocity of around 10 to 12 centimeters, which you will know after once you have called the child for a follow-up at 3 months. So you are saying that the child has grown 2 centimeters. So you can extrapolate that for 1 year and see how much is the growth velocity for a year. So if the child has grown 1 centimeter for 1 year and 1 month and 2 centimeters in say you have called the child back after 3 months. അപ്പോൾ ആ സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ചെക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ 3 സെന്റിമീറ്റർ ഇൻക്രിമെന്റ് കുട്ടിക്ക് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എക്സ്ട്രാപ്പുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വി നോ ദാറ്റ് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് 12 സെന്റിമീറ്റേഴ്സ് പെർ ഇയർ. 3 മാസത്തിൽ 3 സെന്റിമീറ്റേഴ്സ് വളർന്നിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് 12 സെന്റിമീറ്റർ പെർ ഇയർ, വിച്ച് ഇസ് ആക്ച്വലി എ വെരി ഗുഡ് ഗ്രോത്ത് റെസ്പോൺസ്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ വി ക്യാൻ ബി ഷുവർ ദാറ്റ് ദിസ് ചൈൽഡ്സ് whatever dose you have decided to start, you can start at a lower dose and then gradually titrate to a higher dose. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ initially ഒരു dose start ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ after 3 months you see that this child is growing at a rate of 1 centimeter per month. 3 months കഴിഞ്ഞ് നോക്കിയാൽ മതി, എവറി മന്ത് നോക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. 3 months കഴിഞ്ഞ് നമ്മൾ നോക്കുമ്പോഴേക്കും അത്രയും ഗ്രോത്ത് കാണുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ you know that this child's growth response is very good and you can just continue with that same dose. അപ്പോൾ similarly you keep monitoring the child and you will know the growth velocity. So the dose titration should generally be done based on response to growth. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് growth chart, you already know how to plot on a growth chart. So let me tell you, growth chart is a very, very important tool which should be carried by the patient every time the child comes for a visit. അപ്പോൾ അത് കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ എപ്പോഴും നമ്മൾ സ്ട്രെസ് ചെയ്യുക and always meticulously check the height, because each centimeter is very, very important for us because it costs a lot of money. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ചെക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ the staff who is checking the height, they should be taught how to check the height properly, so that and tell them that each centimeter matters. അപ്പോൾ അത് കറക്റ്റായി നമ്മൾ മെഷർ ചെയ്ത് ഗ്രോത്ത് ചാർട്ടിൽ പ്ലോട്ട് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ you will know the way the child is growing. I always find that very, very exciting experience. നമ്മൾ വളരെ ഷോർട്ടായ ഒരു കുട്ടി ഗ്രോത്ത് ഹോർമോൺ കൊടുക്കുന്നു, ഗ്രോത്ത് ഹോർമോൺ കൊടുത്തു കഴിയുമ്പോൾ 3 മാസം കഴിയുമ്പോൾ കുട്ടി വളരുന്നു. അത് ആ ഗ്രോത്ത് ചാർട്ടിൽ നമ്മൾ മാർക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും യു ക്യാൻ സീ ദി എക്സൈറ്റ്മെന്റ് ഓൺ ദി ചൈൽഡ് ആസ് വെൽ ആസ് ദാറ്റ് വിൽ ബി ട്രാൻസ്ഫർഡ് ടു us also. So that's a very, very exciting experience. So you always mark that on a growth chart. So what is the aim of growth hormone therapy? Growth velocity greater than 50th percentile for a child's born age, and our aim should be to achieve a adult height SDS within the target range for mid-parental height. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ കുട്ടിയുടെ ആദ്യമേ തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ഗ്രോത്ത് ചാർട്ടിൽ ഇതൊക്കെ മാർക്ക് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കണം. കുട്ടിയുടെ സ്റ്റാർട്ടിംഗ് ഹൈറ്റ് എത്ര, കുട്ടിയുടെ മിഡ് പേരന്റൽ ഹൈറ്റ് എത്ര, നമ്മുടെ ടാർഗറ്റ് എത്രയാണ്, നമ്മൾ ഫൈനൽ ഹൈറ്റ് കുട്ടിക്ക് ടാർഗറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് എന്നൊക്കെ ഉള്ളത് നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം തന്നെ ആ ഗ്രോത്ത് ചാർട്ടിൽ കറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് എല്ലാം മാർക്ക് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വിൽ നോ ഈ ചൈൽഡ് നമ്മൾ ട്രീറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കുട്ടി വെദർ ദ ചൈൽഡ് ഇസ് ഗോയിങ് along the expected path എന്നുള്ളത് നമുക്കറിയാൻ പറ്റും. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ടാർഗറ്റ് റേഞ്ചിൽ എത്തിയില്ല എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ യു ക്യാൻ ഓൾവേസ് സ്റ്റെപ്പ് അപ്പ് ദ ഡോസ് ആൻഡ് സീ വെദർ ദ ചൈൽഡ് ഇസ് ഗോയിങ് ടു അച്ചീവ് ദ ടാർഗറ്റ് മിഡ് parental height range. Now once the target range is attained, suppose your target range, നമ്മുടെ മിഡ് parental height വെച്ച് നമ്മൾ കാൽക്കുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത ആ റേഞ്ച്, സപ്പോസ് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് ഓൺ ദ 10th centile. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ കുറച്ചു കാലം ഒരു 3-4 years ഒക്കെ ട്രീറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് കുട്ടി ആ സെന്റൈൽ എത്തിന്നിരിക്കട്ടെ, then you can come down on the dose just to maintain the height of that child along that centile. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഇനീഷ്യലി ചിലപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ തേർഡ് സെന്റൈലിന്റെ വളരെ താഴെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഫസ്റ്റ് സെന്റൈലൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പൊ ഇനീഷ്യലി നമ്മൾ യു നോ ദാറ്റ് ദി മാക്സിമം റെസ്പോൺസ് ഇസ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് 2 years. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഇനീഷ്യൽ ഹൈറ്റ് നല്ലോണം അറ്റൈൻ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി എപ്പോഴും ഗ്രോത്ത് ഹോർമോൺ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ആ ഒരു ഇനീഷ്യൽ ഹൈറ്റ് ഗെയിൻ ഇസ് വെരി വെരി ക്രൂഷ്യൽ. അപ്പൊ അതിന് വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും കുറച്ച് ഹയർ ഡോസിൽ ആദ്യം തന്നെ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വൺസ് യു ഹാവ് റീച്ച്ഡ് ദി ടാർഗറ്റ് സെന്റൈൽ, അവിടെ നമുക്ക് ഡോസ് കുറച്ച് കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് ആ സെന്റൈലിലെ കൂടെ തന്നെ അങ്ങനെ മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. And failure to induce a catch-up after 6 months of maximum appropriate dose of growth hormone, try a trial-off therapy. Maybe your child is not responding, or you always have to check the compliance before telling that this child is not responding to growth hormone. You can always check the IGF-1 levels and see whether the IGF-1 levels are normal. If it is in the upper half of normal and still the child is not growing, it means that this child is probably not going to respond to your growth hormone treatment. Now, along with the monitoring of growth, pubertal staging is also important. You already know the pubertal staging, the SMR staging and all that. So pubertal staging should be performed periodically in the peripubertal years. Sometimes these children might need pubertal induction also, because some of these conditions, growth hormone deficiency, may not be isolated growth hormone deficiency, may have underlying deficiency of other pituitary hormones as well. So pubertal staging should be done periodically to ensure that puberty of this child is progressing normally. Now, bone age assessment, Deepa has already told in detail about bone age. So it's an index of the remaining growth potential, and you have to monitor the bone age annually just to know that the bone age is progressing accordingly. Now, what are the blood tests that you will do? Growth hormone, I already told you that growth hormone therapy affects glucose homeostasis and increases resistance to insulin. So fasting blood sugar and HbA1c should be checked periodically, maybe once in 6 months or so. Thyroid function test, check once in the first 6 months and then annually. And you can also do serum cortisol once in a while. In addition to growth velocity, serum IGF-1, about which Deepa has mentioned, can be used as a guide to dose titration. So IGF-1, it's a marker of the growth hormone levels in the body. So you always should maintain the IGF-1 within the upper half of normal. It should never go above the 2 standard deviation, or it should never go above the upper half of normal. And always titrate your dose based on the IGF-1 levels. So it is a costly investigation. Maybe once annually you can do it, especially if you have stepped up the dose. If the child is on a particular dose of growth hormone and you have already done IGF-1, then maybe you can skip that investigation, because we already know that it's a costly investigation. Now, if you have gone up on the dose and the child is on a maximum dose, so it is always better to check IGF-1 levels and ensure that IGF-1 is not going above the recommended upper range. So this is what I have already mentioned. So IGF-1, glucose and HbA1c, thyroid function test, and serum cortisol once in a while. Now, when do you stop treatment with growth hormone? So reaching an acceptable height close to target height. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഗ്രോത്ത് ഹോർമോൺ ഗ്രോത്ത് ചാർട്ടിൽ ഓൾറെഡി നമ്മുടെ ടാർഗറ്റ് ഹൈറ്റ് മാർക്ക് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. സോ once a child achieves that target height or acceptable height close to the target height, you can consider cessation of therapy. Or suppose the child has not reached that target height. ഇപ്പോൾ എല്ലാ കുട്ടികളും നമ്മൾ വിചാരിക്കുന്ന ടാർഗറ്റ് ഹൈറ്റിൽ എത്തിക്കൊള്ളണമെന്നില്ല. But you are giving the maximum dose of growth hormone. Growth velocity decreasing to less than 2 centimeter per year. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ കുട്ടിക്ക് ഗ്രോത്ത് ഹോർമോൺ കൊടുത്തിട്ടും കുട്ടി വളരുന്നില്ല. ആൻഡ് യു ചെക്ക് ദ ബോൺ ഏജ്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു ഏജ് ഒക്കെ ആയി കഴിയുമ്പോൾ you check the bone age. You give growth hormone and you see that the growth velocity is very less than 2 centimeter per year. You check the bone age. Our bones almost fused, like 16 years in boys and 14 years in girls. That is a time when the bones almost fuse. So our time then there is no point in continuing growth hormone therapy further. So at that time you can consider stopping growth hormone therapy. Now, do you need to give growth hormone in adults? Yes, in some of these children with severe growth hormone deficiency, continuation of growth hormone to adulthood is recommended. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ ബാധിക്കുന്ന കാര്യം അല്ലെങ്കിലും retesting is recommended after cessation of therapy for 3 months. അപ്പോൾ ചില കുട്ടികൾക്ക് severe growth hormone deficiency diagnose ചെയ്യേണ്ട cut offs are different in children and adults. അപ്പോൾ അഡൾട്ടിൽ ലെസ് ദാൻ 3 നാനോഗ്രാം പെർ ml ആണെങ്കിൽ സഫീഷ്യന്റ് ആണ്. അപ്പോൾ അതിലും താഴെയാണ് നമ്മൾ റീടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ കിട്ടുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ it is recommended to continue growth hormone therapy into adulthood. But height growth hormone has got a lot of other metabolic benefits, like its effect on metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular mortality, lipid profile. That's a beneficial effect. It is recommended that growth hormone be continued into adulthood in a select population of children with severe growth hormone deficiency. But there's a cute little girl. By now, I think you would have got a little bit of nice idea about how to pick growth hormone deficiency by looking at the face. So there's a child with a typical face of a growth hormone deficiency. You can see the frontal bossing, cute doll-like faces. They have an infantile voice. So this child, a 2-year-old girl, this child was referred because of failure to thrive and developmental delay. Please note that point. This child was not referred for anything regarding height. It was just failure to thrive and developmental delay. So at 2 years, she was weighing just 6.5 kg and a length of height of 65 centimeters. And her development was just standing without support. This was a significant developmental delay also. So you can see all the classic features: frontal bossing, depressed nasal bridge, midfacial hyperplasia, high-pitched voice. They have a very characteristic high-pitched, you make them speak and they have a very characteristic, very cute, very pleasing high-pitched voice, and immature doll-like faces you can see. This is actually a spotter for a growth hormone deficiency. And you can see the dramatic improvement in height after giving growth hormone. So there's a major jump. So I was really surprised to see the first year growth velocity of this child after starting growth hormone was 15 centimeters, which is very, very impressive. And in the second year, it came down a little bit. Second year, it was around 10 centimeters. So at this time, now this child needs a big leap to reach her mid-parental target height centile, which is in the along the 10th centile. So she needs to grow a lot more to reach her target height centile. So now during the second year of therapy, her growth velocity had come down to around 10 centimeters. So I slightly increased the dose of growth hormone, all keeping in mind the always monitoring IGF-1 levels and ensuring that the IGF-1 is not going above the upper limit of normal. So I'll be increasing her dose just to ensure that she grows and reaches her target height centile as early as possible. Now, sometimes I have had some patients telling me that the doctor in the periphery told me that growth hormone therapy is not very effective. Hormone so for those of you who are still skeptical about growth hormone and its effects on final height, this is a child who's under my follow-up, who has been followed up for a long time now. So you can see, though it's not very clear, the height is 160 centimeters. Now we can see his growth chart. We started treatment at around 6.5 to 7 years. And initially you can see that he was very, very short, much below the first centile, and he reached his target height centile. You can see that his father was on the a little bit, not very short, around 165 centimeters. Actually, his mother was tall. So his mid-parental height target was actually a little bit higher. So you can see that he reached his, her father was happy if he attained his around 65 centimeters. So he said it is enough if he grows along the 10th centile. So we were trying to maintain him on the 10th centile, and he went up to the 25th centile. And you can see that during his puberty progressed normally at the usual time, and you can see the pubertal growth spurt when he jumped the centiles, and he is now on nearing the 50th centile. He is now around 15 years and still continuing to grow. So probably he still wants to grow, though he's 160 centimeters. He's telling that he wants to grow. So probably I think he'll end up at 170 centimeters or so, being a very tall man. So this is another success story which I have to share. The tall father at 175 centimeters and the son who has now stopped treatment at 164 centimeters. So growth hormone therapy, I can say, is a very, very effective treatment if you are starting very early and meticulously continuing. The major issue for all our patients has been the cost, and now thanks to the state government and the efforts taken by Dr. Sri Hari, I think we'll be able to solve that also, and many of our children will be able to attain their target final height. Thank you all.